Hello everyone and welcome to an incredible game from the penultimate round of the Women's European Team Championship 2023. It is Nurgyul Salimova representing Bulgaria versus Oliwia Kiolbasa representing Poland. The battle happened on board 2 and I'm not gonna tell you anything about the game. It's absolutely incredible, so let's just dive straight into it. And I would just like to say that Salimova is the only player that went undefeated in the entire European Women's European Championship, as Bulgaria did win first place, that definitely means a lot. But both of them are incredible players, both of them playing way above their actual rating here, and I believe it's only a matter of time before they reach 2500 and of course beyond. Now let's check it out and why this game is so incredible. I'm not only showing it because Bulgaria won first place, I'm also showing it as it features an incredible move that a lot of you have suggested. So let's check it out. Nurgyul opens with pawn to d4. We have knight to f6 going for the so-called Indian game setup, where everything is possible. Knight f3, the so-called knight's variation of the Indian, and now pawn to e6. The Horwitz defense, and now pawn to c4, basically transposing into the anti-Nimzo variation, where if white played knight to c3 instead of knight to f3, you could just go for the Nimzo Indian. You could still play bishop to b4 and go for something that is called the Bogo Indian defense, and while this is all very nice and I myself enjoy playing it, here just pawn to d5, transposing into the most popular opening there is with the d pawn, and that is the Queen's Gambit declined. And now you could continue with knight to c3, but here we have g3. This is the Catalan opening, and it is a favorite opening of many strong players, such as Vladimir Kramnik, Magnus Carlsen. Well, pretty much everyone plays it, and with great results. So here d captures on c4 and bishop to g2, transposing into the closed Catalan. Now top moves here are a6 and knight to c6. Oliwia goes for pawn to c5 and now castles. We have knight to c6 and knight to e5. Pretty standard move for a Catalan. You know that the Catalan bishop pretty much always reigns supreme the entire game. Bishop to d7 and now just knight captures on c4. Well, it is possible to play other moves. You might be thinking, let's ruin black's pawn structure completely. It doesn't really do all that much, because after all the trades, captures on d1, rook captures here, you're gonna play bishop captures on d5 on c5. Knight to d2 goes after the pawn, and once you go for the rook here, as the rook is undefended, you will have to move the rook. Let's say pawn to h5, knight captures on c4, and now pawn to h4. Yes, black is down a pawn, but black is controlling the d file. Black will now open up the h file, and this is a lot of activity to give up for the price of one pawn. So instead, after bishop d7, knight captures on c4 is the top move. Here we have c captures on d4, and now bishop to f4, bishop to e7, and knight to d6 with check, king to f8, and now knight captures on b7. Again, all been played before, nothing new here. Queen to b6, we have knight to d6, and queen to c5. And now there are quite a lot of games actually that reached this position. One of the more famous ones is Petr Leko played it against Vladimir Kramnik in 2010, where the top move recommended by the engine is played queen to b3. And the queen to b3, although the strongest move, it tends to always end up in a draw, because you just trade everything. Bishop captures on d6, you go for the queen with rook to c1, the queen moves, and now you trade. Bishop captures on c6, rook to c8, pins the bishop, but not really. Queen captures on b4, bishop captures on b4, bishop captures on d7, rook captures on c1, and bishop captures on c1, and knight captures on d7. And after the capture fest is over, you will get this position where the material is equal, everything is equal, it's an equal game. And so Leko and Kramnik, of course, drew their game. And not here they played it, of course, but in the end it ended up in a draw. But here Nurgyul goes for pawn to b4. It's one of those moves that's possible in every game. You just have to find the perfect moment to play it, and here it is very annoying and very unpleasant for black. Now, at first, it doesn't seem to be doing all that much, but it really is. It is preventing the black queen from coming to b4. Now, why is this important? Well, I will show you. Queen captures on b4 was played, a3, and now queen to c5. And now, if you play queen to b3, as it was played in some of the games between stronger players like Wojtaszek versus Adams, Adiban played it against Schwerch. If queen to b3, then you get this bishop captures on d6, and rook to c1 continues. And now it's problematic because queen does not have the b4 square, as we've seen what happened in the game between Leko and Kramnik. So instead, after queen to c5, knight to d2 was played, and now we have pawn to e5. Here again, if black would be persistent in capturing the knight, then rook to c5 is again very strong, because now after queen captures on a3, you have this knight to c4 move, attacking the queen and the bishop, and you're going to win the bishop. Or best for black would be to just give up the queen with bishop captures on f4, knight captures on a3, now bishop captures on c1, queen captures, and rook to c8. Black has some compensation for the queen, but after, let's say, queen to c5 check, black will have a hard time getting that rook into the game. You can play rook b1, and the white will be much, much better, should win this game. So instead, after knight to d2, we have pawn to e5, and now knight to e4, going after the black queen. Knight captures on e4, knight captures on e4, attacking the queen once again, and the position has been reached before. Yes, we are still in known theory. Queen to b6 is the move that was played. Samuel Savian played it against Jeffrey Xiong in the US Chess Championship 2019, and the game ended in a draw. And indeed, queen to b6 is the top move recommended by the engine. But here, we have queen to a5 by Oliwia, and it is now, as of move 17, that we have a completely new game. So let's see how what's the problem with queen to a5 and why it wasn't played in the game Samuel Semyon versus Jeffrey Xiong in 2019. Well, here the bishop is attacked, so you have to move it. You will move it to d2 as it comes with tempo. This is what Nurgyul goes for. We have queen back to d8, and now, of course, rook to c1. And if you put the queen on b6, then, of course, rook to b1. If you put it on c7, then rook to c1, but mostly rook to c1. Rook to c8, and now knight to c5, putting pressure on that bishop. And if you allow white to capture on d7, then this bishop just becomes a monster. And it's like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, if you play the Catalan correctly, your light square bishop will always be the strongest piece on the board. We have bishop d8, preserving the bishop pair, and now pawn to f4. Sort of an engine perfect way to play it would be queen to c2, putting immense pressure on this knight on c6. And notice you can't really move that knight. If you move the knight, then even some knight to e6 check action is possible, just picking up the rook on c8. So you're going to have to play something like queen to c7, but then comes queen to e4, and again, you will have an incredibly difficult time getting rid of this pin. Again, you can't move the knight because just knight e6 check picks up the queen. So it's an eternal pin that I don't know. It is just very annoying and unpleasant to play. But okay, pawn to f4 was played, and the king is on f8. He goes for a more direct approach. He wants to open up the f-file and attack the king. And now pawn to d3. A beautiful move by Oliwia, a very tricky one, freeing up the d4 square for some of the stronger black's pieces. And the idea is that if e captures on d3, then she will play bishop captures on c5. A move you could pretty much play in any position up until this point, but it never really does anything. You just give up the bishop pair, and white's position becomes even stronger. But here it would actually work because it comes with check, and after rook captures, now you have queen to d4, picking up the rook on c5. So that's the idea behind pawn to d3. So she goes knight captures on d3, and now you have to decide, do you give a check first and then advance the pawn to e4, where you will, after king to h1, allow Nurgyul to put the bishop on c3 with tempo on the queen and assume this strong diagonal? Or do you want to do it differently? Do you want to sacrifice the e4 pawn, then get the queen into the game, and then capture the pawn here on a3? She goes for the other line, e4 first, bishop captures on e4, and now queen to d4 with check. Now you have to block with the knight, otherwise you're going to lose the bishop on e4, so the knight here defends the bishop. Bishop captures on a3, now creating a passed a pawn, also incredibly strong. Rook to c3, attack as it was attacked, so you have to move it, and now bishop to b4, attacking the rook, so rook to d3, attacking the queen, and queen to b6 now. We have bishop to e3, attacking the queen, and bishop to c5, rook to b3, attacking the queen, and now with queen to a5, it is still possible to continue the game. However, after knight to b4, the game is lost, and if Nurgyul finds the correct idea, she will win this game. Now, feel free to pause the video, and bear in mind, this is only the first pause the video moment of the video. Second one is even more difficult, so have at it. So, for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting why it is so strong. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is a rook to c3. Now, the undefended rook on c8 really comes into the picture. And to show you why, let's say you don't play what Oliwia played in the game. Let's say you play h6 or h5. It's the strongest recommendation by the engine. The point is, rook captures on c5 is just so strong. And after rook captures on c5, you have this unbreakable pin here. You will play queen to d2 with the idea of bringing the other rook into the game. And now if knight to a6, sort of adding a defender to the rook here, you will play rook a1 with the threat of just capturing the knight and then picking up the rook with check. Knight to c7, and now you're going to play rook to b1, and the queen has no squares to defend the rook. You just have to move it, and then you're going to lose the rook. Or you play bishop to b5 to block the rook on b1, but then knight d3, and again, you lose this rook on c5. If knight a6 defending it, you will just play knight captures on c5, knight captures, and queen to b4, and now finally the game is over. So that's what happens if you do nothing here. If you just play h6 or h5, which is, like I said, the strongest recommended by the engine. She played bishop captures on e3. She said, all right, it's better to give up the exchange and then to lose the game on the spot. Rook captures on c8, and now king to e7, preparing to develop the bishop and get the other rook into the game. So queen to a1, now putting pressure on that g7 pawn, and bishop to d4, countering the white queen. Queen to c1, and now we have pawn to a5. You don't have to worry about the rook here, it's now defended, but now the passed a pawn starts marching forward, and it could be very dangerous as the bishop covers the queening square, so you have to be fast. Rook to c7 check, king to f6, and now pawn to e3, putting pressure on the bishop, and this is another beautiful pawn sacrifice. Bishop captures on e3, and now queen to c3 with check, bishop to d4, and now you will realize why it was so important. Feel free to pause the video and win the game for Salimova while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on realizing it's the position from the thumbnail. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is rook to d1. You sacrifice the queen on c3 for a most intriguing checkmate. And it's not enough to sacrifice the queen. You will also have to sacrifice the rook. So the idea is that if Oliwia captures the queen on c3, then you play rook to d6 check, and you sacrifice the rook as well. The reason you have to do this is to take away the d6 square from the black king. Otherwise, the black king could hide on d6 and escape further. But now, after queen captures on d6, you go for knight to g4 check, king to e6, and f5 is checkmate, as the queen now prevents the king from escaping further to the queen side. I mean, absolutely stunning checkmate. And you could end the game like this, and probably Oliwia did not want this to appear on the board, but everything else that she plays also loses the game. She played knight to c2 to sort of continue the game, but it's just continuing the game, being down a piece. Yes, okay, now the bishop is defended, but just queen captures on c2, and you are down material. Bishop captures on f2 check was played, and now king to g2. You could also capture, I mean, it's if queen captures here, or if queen captures on c7, also doesn't matter. The position is still completely winning, as the king on f6 is just in a terrible spot, like queen to b2 check. All of these squares are covered. You have to go into position. Now comes f5 with check, king e7, queen a3 check, and there's not much you can do. King goes back to f6. Now rook to d6 with check. You either give up the queen, or you go under the mask of the queen, and then you will have to suffer, or you go to g5, and then it's just a nice mate in 3. Queen e3 checking to g4, queen to f4 checking, h5 or h3, and then you will just get checkmated like this, or well, whatever you choose. So instead, after bishop captures on f2, king to g2 was played, but it doesn't help. Bishop to d4, now rook to c4, and he was in this position on move 39 that Oliwia Kiolbasa resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So brilliant game by both of them, but even more brilliant by Nurgyul. I mean, that queen sacrifice was out of this world, and I'm very, very happy that you guys suggested me to cover this game. So why you resign? Well, you're just down material, but also aside from that, once you, as the bishop really has no squares, you can play something like bishop to e3, but then you go after the king, queen c3 check, king to e7, and now a similar line like we've already shown. You don't allow the king to escape, king to e6, now f5 with check, king to f6, now rook to d6, sorry, rook to d6 with check. You're gonna win the queen here, captures, and now it's just gonna be a very quick checkmate. h4 check, king to h5, and now any of the checkmates, but bishop f3 is the cleanest and the fastest one. So yeah, rook c4 ends the game. A wonderful performance by Nurgyul Salimova, the only undefeated player on Team Bulgaria in the entire European Team Championship for 9 rounds. So incredible stuff. She also won a lot of rating. Let me just check how much exactly. I think she ended on. Yeah, okay. That's. I think it's on plus 14. As she also has some draws, but yeah, 5 draws and 4 games, and those were from round 5 to round 8, all wins in a row. So 4 draws, 4 wins, and then she tops it off with a draw against Nino Batsiashvili in the final round against Georgia. But yeah, that's the game. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's check out that queen sacrifice one more time, because I mean, when was the last time you've seen something like this? First the queen sacrifice and then a rook sacrifice just to prevent the king from escaping to d6. I mean, wow. But yeah, that's the game. Thank you for suggesting it. Hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Derek King, Ahmed El Halabi, David Gasparian, Seshida Pitapurapu, and the Desert Sand Software for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, probably with a game from the winners of the Men's European Team Championship. So stay tuned for that. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.